couldn't afford the big shiny van, so I didn't. It didn't mean I gave up on my van life though. This mess, it's still my tiny home, and it still works. Sometimes I find things under these blankets that I swear I left at a camp 3 days ago. Honestly, it's bonus storage, really. Hey, hi, how you going? Ignore the bed sheets. Real life is happening in this van recently. But I do get van envy. I see those huge sprinters with like those hidden drawers and the fancy pull-outs, and some of them have showers and they have like full like office workspaces. Me, I have this old HiAce parked up at my brother's house. The bed never stays made. The bed works though. Plus, honestly, his hot water's free, so you kind of can't beat that. We actually took out a personal loan to get this van. No sponsors, no fancy inheritance, no fancy crew, and most importantly, no skill set to actually build it. It's just me, the old HiAce, a roll of duct tape that lives in my glove box, almost like it pays rent. The first time I drove home with this van, it rattled so bad, I honestly thought the whole side door was just gonna fall off. It didn't though. It's still there, which is great, unlike my wheels a couple of videos ago. And if I'd waited for the perfect van or the perfect moment, I'd still be stuck at my old job, nodding along in pointless morning meetings, pretending to care about targets and responsibilities that honestly I had no right being mine in the first place. So instead, I got this. Squeaky, cluttered, does exactly what I need. Parks anywhere, turns pretty good in tight spots. There's no big slide outs to jam up when you least need it, like in a torrential rainstorm. The only thing that breaks is me when I lose my socks or keys in the blankets like 4 times a day. I still haven't found socks, and it's so frustrating when I have to look for the keys to lock the damn thing. Anyway, I'm gonna get too mad if I keep talking about that. The big thing is that I still wanted like my old house comforts though. So I made sure I squeezed them in. AAA gaming was one of my big things. I love video games, and I still make sure that happens for me. It's not the same as my old desktop. It was a pretty high end. At the time, you couldn't get too much higher. I had a 3090 in it. But now I've got more hours in my day to play games, which I think means more to me. My Asus ROG Ally absolutely does the trick. Hell, it even edits these videos. It's my one-stop computer now. And movies were the other big thing. So I got a cheap USB monitor, a USB soundbar that's Velcroed onto 2 pieces of wood. That's how it stays up on the wall. It hasn't fallen off and it works. And the best thing about it is that they are USB powered, so they only sip the power from my batteries. It's fantastic. I actually think it's great. The cables, they're a constant work in progress, but they do the job. And then when you rage quit a game in a van this small, there's not really anywhere you can storm off to except like outside just to like stare at some ducks. And that's probably better for you, really. Probably. People see this mess and they think I'm kind of taking the mickey out of it. You know, you can't game in there. How can you possibly enjoy your time spent in a car space? Well, I'll tell you what, you can enjoy your time in a car space. And if you can't, you find a way to. Because when your fridge kicks on in the middle of the night and your Ally's on, you're playing some games, you're enjoying, you're laughing, you're having a good time, you're basically at home. It's just wheels and it squeaks and creaks a little bit more. There are a few little tricks that I make sure that I have to keep all of this ticking and myself happy. Our biggest one is Starlink. So even here in my brother's driveway, where his terrible Wi-Fi signal doesn't reach out his walls, I can still keep online and play some games and upload videos for you guys. We also have an EcoFlow Wave 2. Keeps it warm when we are at a higher altitude, like we were at Oberon a few videos ago, and it also obviously keeps it cool in Queensland summers, which is a must in a van, in my opinion. It does the trick, and I think that that's all you can really ask for. Oh, plus, if the cable, the little hose comes out the back, I get a free foot bath because the water drains straight under the fridge all over the floor. It's great. So who said van life doesn't come with surprises, huh? You got to pay big money for foot baths these days. Cooking, we have a single burner, quite small. We don't have the slide out kitchen. There's no fancy tiling, backslash stuff. Just an old filing cabinet that we picked up on Facebook Marketplace. It's a little wobbly, and I have a tendency to overcook noodles. Even though the packet says 3 minutes, 2 minutes even, they cook in way under that. I don't understand. I think they cook when I still am putting the flavors in. I'm going to time that one day properly. I'm going to time it properly. We'll see what happens. But back on to the topic. Simple means cheap, 9 times out of 10. And cheap means more leftover money for, let's be honest, good coffee. Because there's no way that I was going to move into a van and not have good coffee if I can help it. So do I get van envy? Absolutely I do. I see these big shiny rigs when I rock up to like another free camp, like by the lake, for example. There's like buses and adventure trucks. It's crazy. And I think, gee, I wouldn't mind a shower. Gee, I wouldn't mind like somewhere else to sit in the van because we only sit on the bed. But then I remember that if the turbo on the diesel HiAce, or on the diesel Sprinter or whatever, dies halfway up the coast, absolutely good luck fixing that. Because this HiAce, at this point, I almost know every squeak and where that squeak lives. And even my brother and his wife know when I'm about to come back because they can hear the van from like a block away. But look, the driveway's free and the shower's hot. It's all good. Half of the time, those fancy rigs sit more than they move anyway. They're weekenders. They're weekender getaway machines. Mine moves or sits here eating my brother's power while I nick his Wi-Fi if my Starlink's playing up. Honestly, it's a fair trade if you ask me. And look, our van isn't perfect. It never was, and it never will be. It's just not my style. But I think that that's the point. I don't want a perfect build. I started with what I could get and what I made fit. I got the life I wanted instead. The mess, the squeaks, the freedom. Honestly, that's all part of me. And I get to game, watch movies, and make cheap food that don't make me miserable because the amount of dopamine I get from eating good food, delicious. And if I feel like it, I roll up to a lake and I spend a week paying rent to ducks instead of some landlord or person that I'm just never going to see. Small van, small bills, small problems, most of the time. The good bits stay. And if the bedsheet wants to find me every morning on this corner flicking up, fine. Give me something to win, flick it back, done. Tomorrow, we'll just flick it back again. And I think that the biggest trap for people wanting to do van life is waiting for the perfect van, the perfect plan, the perfect budget. But if this life is in your gut, I think you just have to sometimes take that leap. Do it. Be smart. Have plan Bs, plan Cs, spare duct tape, and maybe 2 rolls of Sikaflex just to make sure. But don't just scroll YouTube for 5 years pretending research is you living a life. You know, like Elise spent once 2 weeks picking out a new kettle when we were in the house because she couldn't decide between like the stainless steel or a white one. Absolute waste of time, to be honest with you. We bought the cheap one in the end anyway. It still boils water just the same. So throw away the toy. That's me saying chuck away the stuff that keeps you stuck, that keeps you from moving forward and being the happiest that you can be. The ideas, the excuses, the fancy bits that you don't even want when it's 2 a.m. and you want to sleep and a cup of tea. Make room for the good bits, the gaming, the bad horror movies, the cheap snacks that make you feel all right. A life that doesn't need explaining, because nobody else is paying your fuel or fixing your rattles. It's all on you. So yeah, I couldn't afford the big van. So I made this one work, chaos and all, and I don't regret a single moment of it. If you're waiting for perfect, don't. Keep the bits that matter, lose the rest. The bedsheet might never stay on, but at least it's in a van. I started my van life, and I think that the same goes for you. Flick the plan into gear, not just an idea. So I am going to catch you next time, maybe at the lake, maybe in my brother's driveway, maybe at my dad's. I actually think we might be at my dad's. Maybe doom scrolling comments, to be honest with you, at 2 a.m. when the bed squeaks. Same mess, same cooker, same bedsheet, halfway off. Still works. Oh, and one more thing. If you're still here, you probably are not here by accident, right? Maybe this tiny little van chaos sits in your head too. Maybe the idea that you don't need all the big shiny bits, the perfect rig, and the never-ending updates. Maybe you feel just like me and your plan was never spotless because you aren't spotless, because we're not meant to be spotless. We're just meant to exist and be real. Sometimes I think about what I'd tell my old self, the version of me who thought I needed the perfect stuff, like a shower that's never cold, the kitchen drawers that don't, jiggle, to jiggle them open, you know what I mean? Or when you go around a corner and you hit a pothole and half your clothes fall over. Squeaks, wobbly burners, clothes that fall over when you turn a corner a bit harder. It's still yours and it's still a life that works. I know plenty of people who get big rigs and they sit in their driveways way more than they roll. They're parked up on driveways or in mechanics while the freedom bit collects dust. They have to go back to work to pay for it. Me personally, I would rather be parked in a messy driveway, flicking the same sheet back over the damn corner every single morning than waiting for somebody else's plan to line up so I can enjoy my life. There's a freedom in choosing what you can handle, and not necessarily the Instagram dream, but the bit that fits you right now. So if you're sitting there halfway down a rabbit hole of van tours and fancy builds, wondering if the plan that you have is actually good enough, maybe it is already good enough. Maybe you don't need to tick every single box before you roll out to test a camper van, or you hire one for the weekend, or whatever you can. Maybe you just need a good blanket, a burner that mostly works, and a place to park when you need to breathe. And if you're here at the end of the video watching this, maybe this is your sign. The squeaks, the clutter, the cheap coffee in a family member's driveway. It's not the big fancy dream that they sell you, but it is better than waiting for perfect. Anyway, that's me. That's how I view it. The same squeaks, the same mess, the same cooker that doesn't really work. I should probably replace that, to be honest with you. I won't though, because it works well enough. But if you see me, if you're in Australia parked by the lake or tucked away somewhere, give us a wave. I will flick the sheet back on in your name for you. Catch you out there. Bye.